But before I start reading it, does anyone know what inferring means? What it means to infer something? Do you know?
Predict.
Yeah. Can anyone else add on to that? What do you think?
You predict with your background knowledge.
That's a very, very good definition. What about you?
Take what you know and go with the clue.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so can anyone tell me an inference about the cover of this book? What do you guys think?
It's gonna be about a frog that's like hip hop.
Yeah. What do you think?
A frog and its little frog.
Here you go. What about you?
It's gonna be about a frog that instead of the mom having the baby, the dad does.
Here you go.
Yes.
I don't know. We'll find out. So those were some great inferences. All right. So let's go ahead and read. It's called Hip Pocket Papa by Sandra Markle. A male hip pocket frog ducks beneath a button-sized mushroom cap. It's a tiny space, but since he's no bigger than a thumbnail, he fits with room to spare. Settling there, he croaks in a creaky voice. Can you guys make a frog noise?
No.
Yeah, I can't make a very good one either. That was a good one. Nearby, a female hip pocket frog hears her mate and crawls away to find a meal. For the past 8 nights and days, the pair has guarded this bit of forest floor together. Now the male focuses his golden eyes on one small spot on the leaf litter. There, beneath the covering of orange and brown leaves, is a glob of glistening jelly, studded with a dozen pearl-like eggs. The tiny parent's developing brood. So what can you guys infer about this? That they're
probably married.
Yep, they could definitely be married.
Look at those.
So do you think those are their eggs? Yep. It's a great job. It's December in a very dry summer for Australia's temperate rainforest. As the sky goes from dark to dim, a warm wind blows away the early morning mist and turns the squishy leaf litter's surface crisp. But beneath the leaf blanket, a glob of jelly and eggs stays wet. The way the eggs need to be for oxygen to slip through the rubbery shells to the developing tadpoles inside. Suddenly, a centipede not much longer than a grain of rice arrives on many legs, waving its antenna as it searches for food. If it crawls down the leaf litter, it's likely to find and eat the frog's eggs. Snap! The male hip pocket frog's long tongue flicks out, snags the centipede, and pulls it into its mouth. He defends his brood by swallowing this enemy that's even tinier than his. So what's an inference we can make about the centipede? What's it trying to do to the eggs?
It's trying to eat them.
Yeah, it's its dinner. Yeah. Three more days go by as the male and female hip pocket frogs take turns hunting, guarding, and waiting.
Wait, so it's 2 frogs?
Yeah.
So they're guarding both of them?
They're both guarding the eggs. What do you think they're waiting for? Yeah, exactly. Finally, the eggs hatch. The jelly surrounding them turns to liquid, a birth puddle for the 12 teeny tiny tadpoles swimming up and out onto the surface of the forest floor. Her job done, the female crawls away. The male stays. He has an even bigger job to do. He croaks and wades into his wriggling brood, sits down, and stays still. Hour after hour, he waits while the tadpoles wiggle up his hind legs and into the hidden pocket on his hips. No, so what can we say about the mother frog? Do you think she left? Do you think she's going to come back?
No.
Do you think she's going to come back?
Why did she leave?
I guess that's just what they do. Now it's the dad's job. Each tadpole will get all the energy it needs to grow from the yolk ball in its tummy, but the young father needs to keep eating. So finding nothing on the forest floor, he burrows into the leaf litter until he finds tiny crickets. Then he eats his fill. The male stays buried for 2 nights and a day. That keeps him safe from hunters overhead. The young brown snake, a skink, a wolf spider, and a boobook owl flying low. Once the hip pocket male could have stayed for weeks and caught all the prey he could eat. But now the now little food remains. The drought 3 years long has taken its toll, so the young female must return to the forest floor to find a meal. So the young father, sorry, not the female.
I think the mother left because where's the spider? Like right there. And it's a snake too. A lizard and owl. I think the mother left because like sometimes the mother leaves and they go hunt for food and bring it back.
Exactly, yeah. He hunts in the morning and late in the afternoon, when the forest floor is damp and the fewest hunters that might eat him are on the prowl. He spends the rest of the time hidden in shadowy nooks and spaces. He needs to stay safe and keep his skin wet. Like fish, the tadpoles inside his pockets have gills and need to be wet to breathe. Some days he dines on insect eggs the size of tiny seeds. Other days he snaps up little prey, mites, midges, springtails, and wooden lice.
Is that
Yeah. It looks like it, yeah. So what can we infer about the eggs that are in the father? What do you think is going on with them? They're in his pocket.
Oh,
It's called a hip pocket.
He's trying to keep him safe.
Exactly, yeah.
I didn't know frogs had pockets.
I guess so.
I thought it was a pocket.
Once he comes across the saghorn fern and crawling inside its crown of leaves finds a tiny pool of water. Then, clinging to a hiding place among the leaves, he waits. And when a swarm of midges, attracted by the water, buzzes around him, he gulps down all he can catch. So he has a good little tactic. One late afternoon, a dusky Antechinus surprises him, running fast across the forest floor. When its jaw opens wide, but a quoll, watching from the rock, pounces on this hunter and, catching its own meal, rescues the frog. So what can we infer about that scary-looking animal? We don't think it's its friend, right? Yeah, it's probably, it's a predator.
I just made an inference.
You did?
I think that frog is a pocket frog.
You think so? That's a very, very good inference. What do you guys agree with that?
I think that is going to eat it.
You think so? It looks pretty hungry.
But look at that. Don't you think that is baby? Like,
Yeah, it looks like it. Let's find out. Another time, a black and white currawang searches with big yellow eyes, spies the male hip pocket frog, and plunges from its perch. Although he rarely hops, the young father leaps in the nick of time to dive under a log and escape this hunter.
because he can't think down.
Right, exactly. Looks like the hip pocket frog has a lot of enemies to look out for, huh?
So small.
I know. For nearly 30 days, the young father hunts for food and watches for other hunters. Safe and moist in the pouches on his hips, the 12 teeny tiny tadpoles grow bigger. When the tadpoles squirm, his hips appear to shake. So what can we infer is happening with the eggs?
They're getting big.
They're getting bigger. Yeah.
They're getting bigger than they can fit in pockets.
By January, the forest is usually rainy, but this year it's drier than ever. Warm wind shaking high branches create showers of dry leaves instead of water. Over and through this crunchy litter, the male hip pocket frog crawls. So what do we think? Do you think the leaves are a good thing for the frog?
They can, they can hide. Oh, yeah.
It could definitely hide, yeah.
But it's also a bad thing.
Why is it a bad thing?
Because they're dry.
Exactly, and what do the eggs need to survive?
Water.
They have gills.
Yeah, exactly. They're hiding out and, looks like they're out. At last, he finds what he's been searching for, a creek bank where the ground is still squishy wet, and the leaf litter is teeming with tiny prey. It's a perfect new home, and he's arrived just in time. Inside his hip pockets, the tadpoles are changing into froglets. Bumps become legs, fish-like tails shrink to stubs. Big eyes develop and big mouths with long tongues. The yolk in their tummies is nearly gone, and the froglets are almost ready to find food for themselves. Finally, their gills become lungs. One by one, each tiny frog pops out of the male's hip pockets and gulps its first breath. Were you able to see that picture? Yes. Yeah, you guys all saw it? The father stays still, watching over his brood one last time. While he waits, the 12 tiny froglets hop off and crawl away.